Coming up on No Pulp, a huge week 1 in college football. We're here to break it all down. Plus, the news that the ACC is adding 3 league members in 2024.
We'll talk to friend of the program, Chloe Smarz, and the Juicer. Talk some impressive teams, some disappointing teams, some transfers. Be a fun show.
All that, our new players around the country, our final words, and our plays of the week. All that more on No Pulp, and it starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved.
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win. Yes, he got it.
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling?
I'm excited to win the Juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
Hello and welcome to No Pulp. I'm Ethan Frank alongside Braden Reed. Let's not waste any time, Braden, and get into what was a fascinating opening weekend of college football. But before we do that, let's talk about what happened before the actual games. The news broke Friday morning that Stanford, Cal, and SMU are joining the ACC in 2024. What do you make of this move for the conference, and what does it mean for the 3 teams that voted against it in Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina?
Yeah, so overall, it's a good move. It makes sense for the ACC, right? You look at the Big Ten, they add USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. The Big 12 adds some teams as well. The ACC had to add some teams, right? They couldn't just stand idly by, but it does feel like they waited a little bit too long, right? They kind of got the best of the rest, and that isn't to talk trash on Cal, Stanford, and SMU, but it felt like they just panicked a little bit and added these teams. And athletic directors around the country saying this is going to be great for Olympic sports. This is what the ACC is all about. All that's fine and good, but football and basketball are the moneymakers, as we know, and these TV deals are so lucrative that it leaves me wondering, is the ACC in a bad position going forward?
Right, the 2 words that come to my mind are proactive and reactive. The Big Ten and the SEC were proactive in adding teams to improve their leagues. The ACC and the Big 12 were reactive in adding what was the scraps left of the conference. Now, is this move going to help Olympic sports, as you mentioned? Yes. Will it improve the platform and the reach of the ACC across the entire country? Yes. Yes, it will in those small communities out there on the West Coast. But is this going to help the physical health of these athletes, these student athletes at that, who are going to have to travel across the country maybe once, even if it's only once a year? That is still going to be a huge burden.
Yeah, at the same time, though, you get to go out to the West Coast. Like, if we're Syracuse soccer players, pick your ACC team. You get to go all the way out to the West Coast, and you get to play soccer, and it's only once a year. Sure, it's going to be difficult. There's probably going to be some jet lag. You're going to miss some studying here and there, but it's a really cool opportunity. And I know the logistics might be difficult. That part might be tough, but I think it'll be good for them.
In the end, it just all comes down to money.
Certainly.
And the ACC is going to make a lot of money from this move.
Definitely, definitely. All right, now looking at the games, look at the coolest stories this weekend. Deion Sanders, Colorado, a group that has 53 transfers this season, Ethan. A lot of hype as Prime brings over the likes of his son Shadur, Travis Hunter, and they met it and then some. A 45-42 shootout win over TCU. There was a palpable buzz around this team, but as Prime put it best, Ethan, are you a believer now?
I'm still a little skeptical. You know, Prime can come after me whenever he wants. I am still a little bit skeptical of Colorado because I don't know how sustainable this is. I know TCU played pretty well, but there were some pretty costly turnovers in this game. Chandler Morris with 2 costly interceptions, including one by Travis Hunter on the goal line when TCU looked to be walking in for a touchdown that would have changed this game. I am worried at how sustainable Colorado's method of playing is. Shadur Sanders is not going to throw for 510 yards and 4 touchdowns every week, and I don't think Travis Hunter, very impressive that he did this in 100-degree Texas heat, but I am concerned, especially when playing at altitude back home in Colorado, how is his body going to hold up on a week-to-week basis as this season goes on? 53 transfers, that's an entire NFL roster full of new players on Colorado. I am concerned about the sustainability models on Colorado's roster.
I agree with your point, but I'll say this. Joel Klatt called the game for Fox Sports. He was a color commentator. He said it's very rare that expectations get this high for a team like Colorado with all the popularity surrounding Deion, who he's bringing over, and it's met. And that's what I ultimately felt like in this game, is those expectations were met. That's
TCU
really
was a 20-point favorite, though.
No, I know, but still, just for the hype surrounding this team, how much media attention they got, it was still incredibly impressive. I agree with you on the football side of it, though. I have a lot of question marks about their defense. They're headed to the Big 12. They certainly did that part, not playing any defense in that game.
Yeah, TCU had 262 rushing yards in this game. That is a pretty clear sign of what the problem might be with Colorado's defense moving forward. Another big game from the weekend was the Seminoles of Florida State taking on the Tigers of Louisiana State. FSU got the better of LSU for the second straight season, this time 45-24 at the Camping World kickoff in Orlando. What were your big takeaways from the Noles putting a beating on the Tigers?
Yeah, so look, LSU, Brian Kelly, Jaden Daniels, they're going to catch a lot of flack for this game, and rightfully so, but you have to look at FSU, and you got to hand it to them, right? Keon Coleman, Jordan Travis, two phenomenal players in this game. They did it all. And the biggest takeaway for me in this game, Jordan Travis especially, Florida State run game last year with Trey Benson, fantastic, right? They leaned on it all year long. Travis looked better down the stretch last year, but I still kind of had the question of can he win a game as a passer? And he did that, exceeded my expectations, and some last night. They threw the ball all over LSU. DBU,
They didn't even need to run the ball that much.
No, they didn't run the ball that well in this game, but still just did so well. And I'm sitting here, Jordan Travis, Heisman frontrunner.
Yeah.
After week one, you have to ask the question. It was a great performance from the Seminoles.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels had the second best Heisman odds before the season started. You would have to think that Jordan Travis, who was tied for sixth best, maybe those have flipped at this point. And you look at the numbers, over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns for Jordan Travis, finding Keon Coleman for 3 scores, having over 120 yards as well for him. It was a very, very impressive performance by Florida State's offense, and maybe a statement to the ACC, which added members with the disapproval of Florida State that, this is what we offer to the league. This is a statement. We just put a beating on an SEC team, the perceived top league in the country, and this is our worth. Why aren't you meeting it?
LSU defensively, too. Harold Perkins, I know we both like him a lot. Why is he playing off the ball? He rushed the passer 7 times in that game. He's one of the best rushers in the country. Brian Kelly, I get you want a QB spy. Put him on the gosh darn line. All right, let's talk Carolina's, UNC, and the second most famous USC. Squared off in the Duke's Mayo Classic this weekend. Tar Heels start the year off hot with a 31-17 win over the Gamecocks. Drake May throws 2 picks, but Ethan, narrative last year doesn't really have a defense behind him. He might have it this year, though.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler was sacked 9 times in this game by North Carolina's defense. It was a very impressive performance from the Tar Heels defensive unit under Mac Brown, one of the best coaches, probably,
Indeed.
I would say,
agree.
in the ACC. But you mentioned Drake May and the 2 interceptions. He threw for almost 275 yards, a couple of touchdowns, completed 75% of his passes. I'd say a pretty pedestrian game for Drake May, especially by his standards, someone that, as everyone is predicting, is probably going to be a top 5 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Against a defense like South Carolina, going up against an SEC defense early in the season is going to be tough, but I think you probably expect a little bit more out of him coming out opening weekend. I know it's a neutral site game playing in Charlotte between South Carolina and North Carolina. I expected a little more.
I did too, and I don't think I'm quite ready, kind of sharing that same sentiment, to put UNC quite in that Clemson FSU tier in the ACC. Drake May, they were able to get it done with not a great performance from him, but I need to see a little bit more from that entire team for them to be really in that conversation.
Moving right along here on No Pulp. On the other side, I'm joining Chloe Smarz in the juicer, ready to give her yet another L. Stick with us here on CitrusTV.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it.
Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Come on, it's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Braden Reed, Ethan Frank, joined by Chloe Smarz here at the wall, friend of the program. Welcome, Chloe.
Thank you for having me.
Ethan, I'm just letting you know, or Chloe, I'm just letting you know, if you start winning, he might go on his phone, just middle of the show. So be ready for that. All right, it's everyone's favorite game, the Juicer. You guys know the rules. I'll give these two a topic. They both try and convince me that their side is right. We'll hand out some points. Makes sense? You guys done it before? Good to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Looking for revenge, Mr. Frank.
Fighting words.
Well, I guess that means someone had to win the first time, and that someone was me.
So we'll start over Ethan. A lot of teams playing this weekend. Was there one team maybe impressed you more than the other one? I know a lot of hype coming into this season about a lot of different teams, but was there one team in particular that you had your eye on?
Yeah, I'm looking at Washington. How about the performance by Michael Penix Jr.? Heisman alert maybe for Michael Penix Jr. 450 yards, 5 touchdowns. Is Washington kind of the forgotten team in this whole Pac-12 realignment nonsense? When it seemed like Oregon and Washington were going to be joining the Big Ten, people were kind of dismissing the Huskies. Why would the Big Ten want a team like Washington? You know what? This is why. Because Michael Penix Jr. is putting on absolute shows in Seattle. He beat a Boise State team that went 10-4 last year by 37 this weekend, Chloe. This is a fight for the potential final Pac-12 title for Washington, and Michael Penix might be the guy to do it. This is a top 10 team and one that is going to be really competitive all year long.
Well, my answer here, you talked about at the top of the show, it has to be Colorado. They are the talk of college football. I mean, during the offseason, the big question was, could Deion Sanders do what he did at Jackson State, bring all of his players over to Colorado and succeed? And I know the TCU team, not as good as last year's college football playoff team, but still, ranked number 17 in the AP Top 25. And this Colorado team, they played all 60 minutes, and that's why they won that game. On offense, Shedeur Sanders threw for a school record 510 passing yards. Travis Hunter, you guys talked about him, looked like the best two-way player in the country, over 500 total yards of offense altogether. Again, played for a whole 60 minutes, 45 points on offense. I mean, Buffs fans should be excited for this program, again, under Coach Prime, and statement win in his first game.
I hate to break it to you. She makes a really compelling case. I'm a big Michael Penix fan. I agree with you. The Heisman case starts now, but it's hard to pick against Colorado. They were so fantastic. All the hype coming into this year, and they're still able to get it done. So, Chloe, 1-0 lead.
Just another guy who hates lefties. Just another guy who hates lefties.
Maybe so. All right, now let's look at the downs of the week now, Chloe. They're a little bit negative. Was there a team that you had high expectations for coming into this year that maybe you were let down a little bit by?
I mean, you got to look at Baylor. I mean, down in Waco, they lose to Texas State. That was their first win against a Power 5 program, a Power 5 team in their program's history. We're talking about a program here that just 2 years ago was 12-2, finished in the top 5 in the AP Top 25, and won the Sugar Bowl. They came into this game with a 97.6 win percentage. They weren't just upset, they were embarrassed. The Bobcat quarterback, TJ Finley, he looks like an NFL All-Pro. 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. Probably the worst nightmare for Bears fans, because if they play like this the remainder of their season, the only team they're beating on their schedule is Long Island. They have Utah next week, who had a great week 1. So really upsetting, very upsetting, I'm sure, for Baylor fans.
You mentioned Utah. You know who Utah took down this week? That would be Florida, which is the team I'm going to say is most disappointing. I mean, Chomp is more like, we saw the Swamp Kings, more like the Swamp Court Jesters. Am I right? Florida, really, really embarrassing. I'll tell you who's not winning the Heisman. Graham Mertz. That guy was not very good against the Utes. This is a team that rushed for 43 yards against the Utes last week. And you know what? How their defense played? They played bad against a backup quarterback, letting up a 70-yard touchdown on the very first play of the game. Their first play of the entire season was like, here, why don't you, this backup quarterback, throw for a very long touchdown? Because that's a great way to start your season. I could see some hot seats going on down in Gainesville if the Gators don't improve throughout the year.
Chloe, point taken, but I will not stand for the Texas State and GJ
I'm sorry.
Kenny slander. Ethan, you got the point on this
Thank
one.
you.
Florida only able to put up 11 on Utah with their starting quarterback. Unbelievable. And I don't know if you guys saw the social media post that the Florida player put up before the game. Little blank stadium, calling Utah Stadium.
Yeah,
not great. Backfired on him. You win the point.
Thank you.
All right, now let's zoom in on some of the players who took the college football world by storm this offseason. Ethan, who had you shook out of your shoes? Big transfer this year, one guy in particular that you were you liked?
How about Drew Aller from Penn State? This is a guy, maybe, if Penn State has a really good year, Heisman. I mean, you could definitely see if Penn State is really, really good this season. This is a former 3rd overall recruit in the entire country. You see the numbers up there. Over 72% completion percentage, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers in this game as well. Penn State plays in maybe the best conference in the country in the Big Ten. If Drew Aller performs well against the likes of Michigan, against the likes of Ohio State, against these big guns in the Big Ten, I see no reason why he would not be in the Heisman conversation just in his 2nd year in Happy Valley. This is a player that has so much talent as your prototypical drop-back passer. The Nittany Lions could be really, really dangerous this year on the backs of Aller.
I'm going to take it down to the SEC, to Alabama. Jalen Milroe, I know there's a lot of conversation in the offseason. What would Alabama do at quarterback, right? And Nick Saban went with Jalen Milroe. He's their dual threat guy that Alabama has used over the past few seasons. And in his 2023 debut, he looked so comfortable and poised in this offense. 12 of 18, 194 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the biggest takeaway was there was no turnovers. He wasn't being sloppy with the ball at all, and he rushed for 48 yards and 2 scores. Looked in control, sure. It wasn't against...
Yeah. Actually, who did Alabama play this week?
Middle Tennessee.
Do you know what conference Middle Tennessee State is in? I don't know, but I know that Drew Aller played against West Virginia, which is in the Big 12, and that's a real conference.
Let me finish my point here like I was going to say. Sure, it wasn't against an SEC or a Big Ten school like you talked about, but I think that was a lot of confidence from Milroe for Alabama for next week's game when they welcome Texas into Bryant-Denny Stadium. But it was a great first start for him, great first start for Alabama.
I'm a big Drew Aller guy. I'm from the Pennsylvania area. He was fantastic, but I'm going to go with
go.
Chloe here. Would you relax? Chloe gets the point here. It's 2-1. Look, Aller was just such a high recruit. Came in, he was sitting behind Sean Clifford, but this has always been his team for the future. He just met those expectations this past week. Maybe the Heisman, we'll have to see, but Milroe wasn't named the starter until late in this year, so that was a little more impressive for me than a 4 or 5-star recruit who expected to do that good. All right, Chloe, we'll flip this on its head now. Is there a player that you thought that would be a world beater this season that looked a little bit more like Ethan playing football over here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kyle McCord from Ohio State. This is a guy that's been in the program for 3 years, has been under Justin Fields, under C.J. Stroud, and he looked uncomfortable in the Buckeyes offense. Sure, they ended up winning the game, but the first half, 9 of 12, 70 yards and an interception, and he just missed so many open receivers. He was throwing into triple and double coverage for the entire game. No touchdowns on the day. They have an NFL-level wide receiver group with Marvin Harris Jr. and company. It was something that they struggled pushing the ball down the field. Sure, you can blame that on play calling, but McCord has been in the system. He knows this team, and Ryan Day backing up his quarterback after the game, but there has to be some serious concern if you're an Ohio State fan.
Well, I guess my counterpoint to that is if Kyle McCord was so good and had these high expectations, why wouldn't he have transferred out and played at a different school instead of sitting behind all these NFL quarterbacks for so long?
Go ahead, go to your point.
Oh, okay. I'll talk about Jaden Daniels, who many people thought was in the Heisman conversation coming into the year. He had the second best odds coming into the season, and then only throws for his only touchdown in garbage time with his team down by 20-plus points. I mean, a back-breaking interception down by 7 in the 4th quarter when LSU was driving to tie the game. That led to 2 more Florida State touchdowns to put the game away. I mean, you expect more after last season when this is a guy in Jaden Daniels who threw for almost 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. After this performance, I don't see how he's in the Heisman conversation at all.
Jaden Daniels, excuse me, one of the most hyped transfers coming into this season. Chloe, I apologize. The expectations for Kyle McCord were just too low. I wasn't really that disappointed because I didn't expect a whole lot out of him at that point. Jaden Daniels, I expected a lot from. It didn't get a whole lot.
I give up on this show.
Ethan wins the final point, which counts for 2 points. Ethan, that means he wins 3-2.
Thank you very
Congratulations,
much.
Chloe. Better luck next time.
Hey, Chloe, better luck next time.
That'll do it for the juicer. Ethan, congratulations. This better go up at the top of your resume now. We'll take a quick break and be back in a minute for some transfer talk. Stay with us.
Fancy pants peanut butter?
A big screen television.
You haven't even bought a sofa yet.
A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers.
Feed the pig.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow.
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to No Pulp alongside Braden Reed. I'm Ethan Frank. With the college football season underway, we thought, let's talk about some people who made their debuts at new schools this weekend. How does that sound?
Sounds fantastic.
All right, so starting with a coach who made his debut at a new school and the guys who are in charge, quite a few notable ones throughout the country. Who caught your eye?
I'm going to go with somebody who maybe not as notable. Texas State first-year head coach G.J. Kinney comes from Incarnate Word, where that offense last year, it's an FCS school, posted the best offense in the entire country
Did Chloe
last
put
season.
you onto this guy?
They did not. He did not. 51 points per game, almost 600 yards of offense per game last year. Like I said, best in the entire country. Comes over now to Texas State. Take back Texas. That's his motto. Horns down, well, horns up. Horns up later in the show. We'll stay with Texas State right now, though. 45 transfer, though. We talked about Colorado. Texas State with the third most in all of Division I college football this year. So impressive from him. This is a guy who has made the college football rounds, played for a lot of teams, coached for a lot of teams. Now he's doing it at Texas State. Pay attention to this name, kind of like an NCAA 14 Dynasty series. This guy's going to make his way up the coaching ranks. Don't be surprised to see him at a big school soon.
I like that. I'm going to go with someone who's already at a big school, and that's Luke Fickell, who came over from Cincinnati after leading the Bearcats to the college football playoff a couple of years ago. This is a guy who is going to change the Badger culture up in Madison, Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin did not have the best game against Buffalo, but they did fetty-wap them 38-17. The team ran for 314 yards. Now that made me laugh out loud when I was looking through the box score at how well Wisconsin played. Nearly 8 yards per carry on the day. I know the quarterback play was not great. 2 interceptions and just over 6 yards per attempt, but they adapted, and Luke Fickell is trying to develop this culture. It's going to take time, but I stand by the fact that Wisconsin is going to be a top 12 team at the end of this season on the backs of this guy and the culture he's creating.
I got to be honest, I was a little surprised when Fickell left. It seemed like he was building something really good at Cincinnati, took them to the playoff that year. I didn't love the move to Wisconsin, but we'll have to see how he does with it.
We will see. Now to the guys making plays on the field. What player at a new school got your attention over the weekend?
So he got my attention, I would not say in a good way, though. Deuce Chestnut over at LSU came from right here, our campus, Syracuse. Tough first day at the office for Deuce Chestnut at LSU. Had the early interception off of Jordan Travis, if you remember, just like the one we saw back in his freshman year when they were playing down in Tallahassee. Made that pick, but it was tough for him, right? Welcome to the SEC moment. Just got picked on all night after that. Keon Coleman made his day really tough, and the expectations were very high. He was one of the best freshman defensive backs in the country. Now goes down to LSU, where all the great defensive backs they've pumped out over the years to the NFL. He wants to follow that track too. Just had a really tough first day. He has the talent. I'm sure he'll bounce back, but week 1 national television, that top 10 matchup, tough start for that.
So you're going with someone at a school who's coached by Brian Kelly. I'm going to go to Brian Kelly's old school, and that would be Notre Dame for Sam Hartman, who comes over from Wake Forest. And Notre Dame has played 2 games because they played in week 0 across the pond in Dublin, Ireland. How about Sam Hartman? Notre Dame has won their games by a combined 92 points so far. That would be an average of 46 is how much Notre Dame is winning their games by. Sam Hartman has completed over 80% of his 40 passes so far this season for 445 yards, 6 touchdowns, and has not turned the ball over once, has not gotten sacked once. People were worried, is he a system quarterback coming over from Dave Clawson's slow developing system down at Wake Forest? No, that is clearly not the case. Marcus Freeman has his man who's going to make an impact for the Irish all year long.
So I got to know, where does he fall on your rankings?
Oh, Heisman? I mean, if he keeps playing, I could see Sam Hartman with the Heisman. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. On the other side, our plays of the week in our final words here on No Pulp right after this short break.
go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. It's gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Almost time to wrap things up, but not before we give out our plays of the week. My play of the week comes from the state of Virginia, where intrastate foes Virginia State and Norfolk State battled in their respective season openers with 6 seconds left on 4th down deep in their own territory. Up by 3 points, the Trojans decided to try to run the clock out instead of punting the football. Instead of doing that, the quarterback decided to run out of bounds with 1 second left on the clock, giving the Spartans a chance to kick a short, game-tying field goal. But you'll have to see what happens next, because with 1 second left on the clock, Norfolk State is setting up for the field goal, and a bad snap leads to Virginia State picking up the football and running it back for a touchdown, giving the Trojans a 9-point opening weekend road victory. A true play for the sickos.
Absolutely crazy, and you're right. People have called us the sickest of the sickos. For my play of the week, I've got, surprise, surprise, I know, groan, Caleb Williams, defending Heisman champion, up against Poor Nevada. You have to feel bad for him. Trojans up 21, mid-second quarter. Caleb Williams, all time in the world, just running around back there. Whoop! Dodges that defensive end. Watch this flick. I saw this clip for the first time. That's Brendan Rice, by the way, Jerry Rice's son. I saw that clip for the first time. I audibly gasped when I saw Caleb Williams throw that football. You listen on the broadcast too. You can hear the zip out of that ball coming out of his hands. Audible on the broadcast. Incredible. Going to be the first overall pick, barring some setback. This upcoming draft might be to the Cardinals, so tough for him. But fantastic foot play from Caleb Williams. His play has been fantastic all year long. I'm sure it will continue to be as well.
Oh yeah, we'll talk plenty about Caleb Williams, but he's not in this week's big game coming up next weekend, and that one is being played in Tuscaloosa between number 4 Alabama and number 11 Texas. Future SEC foes, I should say, by the way. The Crimson Tide got the best of the Longhorns 20-19 in Austin last year. Braden, I know you are a huge Quinn Ewers fan, but can he get it done at Bryant-Denny Stadium?
So I had the horns down for Texas State. They're coming back up for Quinn Ewers. I think that Quinn Ewers might win the Heisman this year. We've talked a lot about the Heisman, but I think Quinn Ewers has a legitimate shot. And don't tell anybody how fantastic he played against Alabama last year. Only got 1 full quarter in before he went down, sprained his SC joint. Really just wasn't the same for the rest of the year, but he was great against the Crimson Tide starting that game. Has Xavier Worthy outside, one of the best wide receivers in the country. Also has one of the best offensive lines in the country. I get it, going down to Bryant-Denny, really tall task. Going to be tough to beat Alabama. Hasn't been done since Joe Burrow and LSU back in 2019. I think they do it. Horns up, baby. I'm taking the Longhorns in this one, 41-34. I think Quinn Ewers and company get it done.
Alabama, a 7-point favorite to open that one. We'll see what happens. My final word tonight is not about Alabama or Texas. It's about maybe one of, if not the best event in all of golf. That's the Walker Cup. The event started in 1922, and the 49th edition was just competed this weekend at the home of golf, the Old Course at St. Andrews. This pits the 10 best American amateurs versus the 10 best amateurs from Great Britain and Ireland. Match play golf is the best to watch, and when it's played on one of the best golf courses in the world, it's even better when it was this weekend when the U.S. rallied to retain the cup for the 4th straight time, 14.5 to 11.5, after trailing by 3 points entering Sunday. Now, the United States might be 40-9 all-time against GB&I, but that doesn't take away from the event. It is the best, so keep it on your radar when it returns to the U.S. in 2025 at Cypress Point, only the second best course in the U.S. according to #golf.com.
I'm a big fan of golf.com. Good company. For my final word, I want to take a look to none other than Lincoln, Nebraska. 92,000 fans filled Memorial Stadium last Wednesday to watch the volleyball team take on Omaha. Volleyball Day in Nebraska, they call it, and man, what a spectacle it was. The global attendance record for a women's sporting event. The team walk out to Sirius. Ethan, I know you're a big fan. 90s Bulls theme song.
I love that song.
Chills. If you haven't watched it, you're seeing it here. Watch it with audio. It should be the first thing you do after this show is over. It goes beyond just that day. It means a lot for women's sports. Truly an incredible day for Nebraska volleyball, women's sports as well. Very, very cool. One of the best things I saw all week.
It was truly awesome to watch. An awesome, awesome moment for Nebraska volleyball and all of women's sports. That will do it for us here on No Pulp tonight. Braden Reed, I'm Ethan Frank. For our big loser, Chloe Smarz. Unfortunately, she'll have to come back for revenge another time. But we hope you can tune in with us on No Pulp all semester long, and we'll catch you in just a few weeks.